everybody, welcome to the show. Hello everyone, welcome back to Raising A to Z, this homeschooled YouTube channel all about, well, obviously homeschooling. My name is Amanda, I am a teacher turned homeschool mom, and today we're talking about my favorite aspect of homeschooling, being able to customize it for your kids. But before we do that, if you like this channel and our videos and you like us, why don't you consider subscribing and clicking the bell so you get notifications when we put out new amazing videos like we do pretty much every single week. My favorite part about homeschooling is the ability to customize our kids' education. I think it is the single best thing about homeschooling. Like, where else other than homeschooling can you give your kids a completely customized education that fits not only their level, but also like their interests and their strengths as well as their weaknesses? Like, you can literally build homeschooling to match your child. I think that's like the greatest part about homeschooling, is being able to customize it for each child individually, because that's one of the biggest arguments against public school, is that it's just so cookie cutter, and if your kid doesn't fit perfectly into that cookie cutter, they are basically penalized for it. That's one of the biggest reasons why we homeschool, is to give our kids an education that meets not only their strengths and their weaknesses, but also is something that they find interesting and that they're engaged in, because it's things that they want to learn, not just things that someone has arbitrarily told them they need to learn. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about how we customize our kids' education to meet each of their different needs. So we have Alexi, she's almost 6, and then we have Zoe, who is almost 4. They look very similar, but they are very different kids. I think a lot of people are surprised when I tell them how different the two of them actually are, because they do look so much alike. Besides the blonde hair and blue eyes, that's pretty much where it ends. They are very different kids. Alexi is very outgoing. She is definitely an extrovert. She takes after her dad. She makes friends with everybody she meets. She needs to be out and meeting people on a regular basis. That is just her personality. We also call her our little engineer, because that is just how her mind works. She wants to see how things are built. She wants to see how things are put together. She wants to build things. She wants to see how tall things are. She wants to measure things. Like, that is just her, that's her jam. She is our little artist. She likes to draw, and she draws and writes extensively. Basically, a 30-page notebook only lasts us about 3 or 4 days around here, because she fills them so quickly and has been filling a notebook that quickly for about 2.5 years now. That's just how she is. She likes to write notes and draw pictures, and that's her jam. She is very fashionable. She has a very distinctive sense of style and will not be happy unless she has picked her outfit, and it is 99% of the time a dress. That's just her. She thinks they are the greatest things ever. She's also super organized. She has always been that way, even since she was a toddler. She used to reorganize things in our home, and we would have no idea where they went, because she would organize our spice drawer by taking all the spices out of the drawer and putting them in my bed in a very specific order, in little boxes, and she just decided that's where the spice drawer belonged, was in my bed. Just the way she is. She has done that literally since she was old enough to walk and pick things up. She even tried to convince the pastor at our playgroup that the room needed to be reorganized to the way she deemed fit, and would try to like make her move furniture around the playgroup room as a toddler. Like, that is Lexi. She has way things are gonna be. She's organized. She does not like a lot of mess. Then we have Zoe. Zoe is a lot more relaxed than Lexi. Lexi tends to be a little higher strung. Zoe is very chill. She is much more introverted. She likes people, and she likes to be out and meet everyone. That's fine, but she does very much like to be at home as well. She is a little bit of a homebody. She also really needs time by herself. She needs time to have like quiet time to do her little things that she wants to do without being interrupted by anyone else, including Alexi, which can be a bit of a challenge when you have Alexi who wants to be with her constantly. Anyway, we'll get to that. Zoe loves animals. She loves all animals, and she always has. She's obsessed with dogs, cats, elephants. She was a hyena all morning yesterday. So like, that's just her jam. She loves animals. She loves stories. Both kids love books. Like that's probably their one biggest similarity. But Zoe is the one who like, she loves stories and she has her favorite stories that she goes back to again and again and again. Whereas Alexi tends to like read as much as she can and as many different stories. Zoe has her favorites and she sits down and she likes the plots and she likes to follow what is happening in each story. She likes characters and she plays with her little figurines, like that is her thing. Lexi was never really into like characters or dolls or stuffies. Zoe is, and each character has a name, they have a backstory, and she plays with them incessantly. She is also significantly messier than Lexi is. She is she plays with something, as soon as she's done, she just drops it and runs on to the next thing. That's just the way she is. She's less finicky, she's more relaxed, so like you can pretty much dress her in anything. She's happy. She goes with the flow more, like she just kind of putters along with us, like wherever we're going or doing, she's just there. Whereas Alexi has like a game plan, she knows where she's going. They're just different kids. I think the best story I can tell about them being different is when we took them to the Toronto Zoo and we were watching the polar bears. The polar bear was like 6 feet away from us on the other side of the glass, and Zoe is just completely mesmerized by this polar bear that is walking around like 6 feet away, and Alexi could not care less. She just spent the entire time that we were at the polar bear exhibit looking at the bolts that were holding the glass together. Like just when she touched them, she looked at them, she looked at the posts and the nuts and the bolts, the screws, and that's what Alexi loves to do. Literally, when we go to the zoo, Alexi tells us how much she loves the statues of the animals that are at the zoo, that are literally walking around. Like Alexi is into, that's just what Alexi is into. Meanwhile, Zoe is like pointing out animals left, right, and center. She can see them from a distance farther than I ever knew she could see. And yeah, they're just different kids. And so when it comes to homeschooling, that is both a blessing and a challenge. Like it's a blessing that they're different and that we get to do different things because they are both different kids. So it keeps things entertaining and interesting for me as a homeschool mom. I'm not doing the same thing all the time, but it is also a challenge because they are so different. So what works really well with Lexi, Zoe finds quite boring sometimes, and what Zoe is really, really into is not really Lexi's jam. That's just the way it is, and it makes customizing their education a little bit different. I'm going to talk about a couple of things that we do specifically with them to make their education fun and exciting for them, and also meeting a lot of their needs. So when people are talking about customizing their kids' education when it comes to homeschooling, a lot of people think automatically about using different curriculums for different kids. That could 100% be true. Some kids might desperately need a different curriculum than their sibling. We haven't really encountered that too much because we've already been picking curriculum that we thought they would be enjoying and that has very similar activities. So we try to get curriculum that has a lot of different kinds of activities. I could see a point, like a certain point in the future, that we will probably need to find different curriculum for each of them, especially if we're looking at different subjects. I feel like math might be fairly similar going through. They'll probably do the same kind of math. I also think that language-wise we'll probably be doing a lot of like the grammar and spelling will probably be very similar. But once we get into things like social studies and sciences, once they get older, we might have to find different activities and different curriculums to help gear them to what they're really interested in. That is a reality that we'll have to face. Like right now, because they're fairly young, we are able to do kind of a lot of like group lessons together. But as they get older, you know, when they're in grade 5, 6, 7, 8, and they have the ability to work independently a lot more, that's going to be something that we're going to have to consider and have to be okay with considering. Different curriculums, sometimes it's a good option. Another thing that we do is we do a lot of unit studies. That's basically how we do all of our social studies and science and arts and everything. Everything other than like math and reading and language arts, we do as a unit study. And so every month we pick a different unit. I have built a whole bunch of units basically for our school year around interests that they have asked for or interests that they have. And oftentimes that means I've actually asked them, what do you want to learn this year? Alexi came up with some really great ideas and that's what we're doing. Right now we're doing a zoo animal unit. That was specifically requested by Zoe. She wanted to do a whole unit just on animals. And so that's what we're doing. We're learning all about animals and learning about, the different categories that they are, where we have, mammals and reptiles and amphibians and birds and all that kind of thing. That's what we're doing right now, where they live and habitats and geography. So we're doing all those things through our unit study. And when I build my unit studies, which if you want to know how to do that, we'll put a link up here on how I build my unit studies. When we're doing our unit studies, one of them might pick the topic. So for example, this month Zoe picked the animals, but I try to pick activities that I think will hit the mark for both of them. So for this one, we have been doing a lot of sorting, which really feeds into Alexi's love of organization and finding categories and categorizing things, but it also really fits Zoe's love of animals because she gets to play with animals and talk about animals the whole time we're doing our unit study section of the day. So we try to do things like that. And if we're doing an activity that is kind of more so for one or the other, we don't really put a required time limit on it. So if we're doing something, for example, art is a great example. Alexi can sit down and do watercolors for an hour. Like, she loves it. She will do watercolor painting for an hour. Zoe does not have the attention span for it at the moment. I'm not sure if it's just she doesn't have the attention span because she's so young, or if it is more like it's just not her thing. But if she sits down, does it for 5 or 10 minutes and gives it a try and then wants to leave and go play something else, we let her do that. It works well for us, and it's also not putting any like pressure, or like they don't have to do something they don't like for long periods of time. They gotta try it, and if it's not their thing, they get to move on. So yeah, that's one of the reasons why we love unit studies, is that we can really pick topics and interests that they're both interested in. And I do try to balance it. So like, we did a science unit where we talked about being little scientists. Lexi loved it. That was the thing for Lexi. That's what we did. It was her jam. Then we moved, like I said, this month we're doing the animals. Next month we're doing towns and cities, which again is going to be Alexi's jam. Then we're moving on to plants, something probably more Zoe, right? We're able to bounce back and forth between their interests, because they also know it's not going to last for a long time. So even if it's not their favorite thing, they also know that it's only for a couple of weeks, and then it's probably going to be something that is more of their thing. We like to give the kids time to work on their own thing. I think that's really important when you're homeschooling. We don't spend a lot of time on curriculum. We only spend about an hour-ish a day working on, like, in our workbooks and doing seat work. After that, we do a lot of other activities, and a good chunk of that is actually letting them work on things that they find interesting and activities that they find interesting. So for Alexi, that's a lot of building. It is a lot of building. She does a lot of Lego. She does a lot of K'NEX. This is her little K'NEX car that she built. It's her snack gatherer. So basically, if we have a snack downstairs, she puts this at the stairs, and then she puts her snack on top. This is her snack platform. And then she activates it, turns it on, I guess, and it drives. She knows how to line it up and drive it, and it drives to the couch, so she doesn't have to carry her snack to the couch. Would it be faster for her to walk to the couch with her snack? Yes. But this is just so much more fun for her, and she loves the building of it and how it works. Really, being honest, Alexi doesn't really like to play with the things she's built. Basically, the building of it is the exciting part for her. We joke around that Lego sets are great for our kids because Alexi has all the enjoyment of actually like building what it is, the castle or whatever it is, and then Zoe comes over and will like take the figures and actually play with it. It's just the way they are, right? So we give Alexi a lot of time to do her building, and we do a lot of encouraging time to do her building, and we do a lot of stuff with her one-on-one to like doing her building. So for her birthday last year, she got a bunch of different tools, and they're all like kid-sized tools, but they're real tools. So they're just small portable versions of tools. So it's a smaller hammer, smaller screwdriver, stuff like that. And she's got some nails and some screws, and so she goes outside and she does like hammering. She does some like screws things together, and Stefan has done some building with her. I'm not a builder. I don't really know anything about the building, but he's actually done some building. They built a wishing well, which is something she has been begging us to get for years, was a wishing well. And so the two of them went outside and they built a wishing well out of some sticks they found in the woods, and we now have a wishing well, which makes her very happy. So we do give like Alexi a lot of time to do her building. We also make sure that we give Zoe a lot of time to do the things that Zoe really loves. Zoe loves 2 things in life. She loves baking and she loves sensory bins. Actually, she loves 3 things. She loves her characters too. Zoe loves to bake. Often in the evening, she tells me that she can't go outside after a certain time of the night because she needs to stay inside and help me make, which is what she says for like making any kind of food. She wants to stay inside and help me make. And that's just her thing. She likes to do like the making and baking and cooking. She loves it. The other thing Zoe loves, other than her characters, are sensory bins. Lexi, never been a fan. I think it was just too messy for her. She just cannot get around the idea of having different things that could spill. Even now, like she can play with it, but she doesn't play with them well. Like she spills a lot. Zoe loves her sensory bins. She will sit with a sensory bin and play for an hour to 2 hours, depending on what the bin is. So we often I build up sensory bins for her with different materials, different things, different tools to have in there. This is a blue Gato set. It is all like wood tools. This was gifted to us, which is great. So thank you so much. We put stuff like this in there. She loves these little, like I said, they're wood, which is really, really nice. But they're like really made for her size. So it's great. It's not just like for like a little teeny tiny toddler, but it's really nice to add things like this to the sensory bins, whatever they are, whether it's like rice and like they're scooping rice. So we add kind of tools like this for Zoe to like scoop things, make different piles, pick different things up. It's great for her like dexterity and stuff. She often brings in her little figures or characters. She brings them into her sensory bin, and this will become the pool, or they're making soup. Like it becomes whatever she wants it to be for the day. And I think it's great. She loves it. And so I make a point of making sure she has time to do that. If you are looking for a great sensory bin tool set, I highly recommend the Blue Gato. These, like I said, were gifted to us, but they are fantastic. We only talk about products that we actually really, really like. And if you're interested, we will put a link below to the Amazon account where you can find them, and as well as a promo code where you can get 20% off. So you might want to check that out. We do like to make sure that the kids get time to work on the things that they love. They get time to work in their sensory bins, or they get time to work doing their building. And that's part of being able to customize their education, is being able to dedicate time in our week for those activities. So that's something that we love about homeschooling. Sometimes we have to be aware of age appropriateness. For example, we do a lot of walking. We like to go outside. Stefan especially is very outdoorsy, and I try to be. Not very, but I try. And we have to be conscious of like what is age appropriate. So for example, Alexi can walk much farther and much better than Zoe can. A, she's 2 years older. B, she's much taller. So she has the ability to walk much farther. So for example, this past winter, Stefan was able to take Alexi by herself and go and do some pretty extensive hikes up the mountain. They were able to do that quite a few times. They were able to get up to the ridge and different ridges around here, and Alexi loved it. She thought that was great. Zoe liked it the one time that she went. It was just much, much harder for her to get up there because she just can't climb that well. She can't climb that high. She can't go for that long. So sometimes it's about finding out what is age appropriate. So Zoe's attention span is smaller than Alexi's at this point. Zoe is much shorter than Alexi. So doing certain physical tasks is more difficult for her because she's smaller and it takes more out of her. Sometimes Zoe still needs a nap. Like, these are things that we need to be conscious of when we're customizing our kids' education, is that sometimes things are just not age appropriate for them or at ability appropriate for them at that time. Doesn't mean that they can't do it in the future, it just means they can't do it right now. One of the other things that we need to make sure that we do to customize our kids' education, I think this is really important, is that we need to take their personalities into consideration. For example, I need to be very conscious that Alexi is very much extroverted, Zoe is more introverted, and I need to give them time to do the things they need to do for those personality traits. So for Alexi, that means sometimes I need to schedule an extra play date, or I need to have her go to an extra class. This past fall, she did rock climbing classes. That was an extra class that she got to do with kids her own age. That was something that really met a lot of her emotional and mental needs. As an extrovert, she needed that extra time to go and see people. So that's something that we do to help Alexi. Zoe needs time alone. She needs to have her independent playtime where she's not going to be interrupted by an overexcited older sister. So that's something that has been a bit of a struggle for us, is teaching our kids that they have different needs. And especially for Alexi, is teaching her that Zoe needs her to back off sometimes. So often there'll be a little squabble going on. And if I go in to see what's going on, 9 times out of 10, it is Zoe playing a game. She has sat down, she has her characters often at the dollhouse, and she's about to start an activity or a game with her little figurines that she loves. And Alexi has come in and tried to decide for everyone involved that this is now the game they're playing and this is how it's going to be done. And she tries to basically start something new because she wants to play with Zoe. And it's hard to explain to a 6-year-old or almost 6-year-old that, you know, Zoe doesn't really want to play with her right now, and Zoe needs to have this time alone to play her activity and to have her time to play with her characters or do the little game that she's doing, and she needs to do it by herself. And that's something that is a very conscious decision for us, and is very conscious, something that we try to teach our kids, as well as try to give them each the things that they need emotionally and mentally. And if Alexia has a hard time with that, which at this point she does, she feels very left out when she doesn't get to play Zoe's specific game, or she doesn't get to decide what the game is being played. I often bring her with me, and so then I'll get to do something with her that is something that she wants, to give her that personal connection that she needs, but also give her something to do while Zoe is not wanting to play with her. So sometimes we'll do some building or connects or Lego. Sometimes I'll find something like art, I'll pull out the paints or draw a picture with her, do some coloring. Sometimes I get her to come and do something with me, whether that is okay, hey, I need help emptying the dishwasher, or come help me match up the socks, something that she can do, but at least she gets to do with me. And so it seems a little bit better because it's meeting that emotional need that she has of doing it with a person. And having some personal connection there. That's something that we do. It is not easy, but I think it's really important when you're talking about making education plans that fit your kids, is taking their personalities and their emotional needs into consideration. So these are just some of the things that we do to customize our kids' homeschooling experience. And like I said, that customizing their homeschooling and their education is one of the things that we have always strived for, and it's one of the reasons why we picked homeschooling. We really wanted our kids to have an education that fit them and not make them fit into a program that someone else has decided. As 2 teachers, myself and my husband being teachers, we really believe that there are kids in this world who don't fit into what the typical education system has asked of them, and it's unfortunate because they basically are penalized for that. We also believe that there are kids who show exceptional skills in one area and it doesn't translate to other things. So kids who are great in the sciences and in building, and they're not so strong in language, and they get, like I said, they get penalized for that. We also are of the belief that not everybody needs to be experts at everything. There are a lot of kids in this world who are not going to need grade 12 advanced calculus. It's never going to serve them, and it's kind of just a waste of their time. So at this point, we are all about building education plans that are going to help our kids reach their goals eventually. And part of that is making sure that they have educations that are customized to their interests, because I'm sure their goals are going to be connected to things that they are interested in and and things that they're good at, their strengths, and building them up in their weaknesses a little bit to the point where it is as much as they need it to function in society. But if it's not something that they're absolutely in love with, we kind of just focus on things that they're really, really good at and build on that, and things that they're really, really interested in, and use those interests to build up some of their weaknesses. That's how we customize our kids' education. If you like this video and other videos that we do, make sure again that you subscribe and click the bell. And if you want to see some of the activities and things that we do with our kids and how we customize our education to meet each of them and more examples of that, then you'll definitely want to follow us on our socials, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. So thank you so much for watching. See you guys next week.